Well, hello, everybody. We have Justin here today going over some lessons learned of basically covering if he had had a financial mentor earlier in his career, what would that have been like? So, Justin, are you ready to dive in?
I am, and I know that this topic is probably going to appeal more to people early in their career, but folks who are further in their career humor me because I feel like this is a very, very important topic for people to get right, and I'm willing to chat about it and put an episode out there and hopefully help someone with some advice that I wish I'd had 25 years ago.
I agree. And I'm right there with you, so I cannot wait to hear some insight from you today.
Let's talk money.
So, what specific misconceptions about finances did you face in the early stages of your career that you believe a mentor could have helped you navigate more effectively?
A few things for sure. So I had a misconception, certainly early in my career, that one thing I think, and this has become more prevalent even in recent years, that your primary job should be your only income stream. You should put every bit of effort into your job, and that's where your income comes from. Versus now, I have an appreciation for what it means to have multiple income streams instead of just one, and how important that is. There are many ways you can have multiple income streams. I think your job is important and you should give it your all. Being able to set aside some savings and put that into something like a 401k is also important, because even if you just put $5 into a 401k, while you're asleep and while you're enjoying the weekend, that $5 is working really hard for you and becoming $5.25 and $6 and $10 over time. So that is probably the biggest concept that I personally did not have an understanding of, was how to have your day job and also have another line of income coming in one way or another. People have creative outlets. You see people on Etsy creating things, and they'll sell widgets on Etsy, or they'll go to a market and sell handmade goods or things that they cook. And that's good. That's a good supplement to their income. And I think that's a great thing. In fact, in early in my career, once I did finally start opening my ears and learning from others, I picked up a weekend job during the holidays. I had my corporate job where I was doing high tech stuff. And then on the weekends, I went and worked at Macy's during the holiday season because I needed that extra money. Well, one, to help live on, but two, if I wanted to get anyone a holiday gift, that's how I was able to afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have to caveat part of this story is I come from a family that was low income. We hardly had two pennies to rub together. So anything that I have today has been pure uphill effort from that time as a kid. And certainly getting out on my own with my first job and first apartment and school and all of that was all self-made. So I have a unique perspective on this one.
And congrats on that, because that's huge. I mean, coming from the background that I have as well of being raised by my grandparents, that
Hmm.
was, you know, grew up very poor, and then another one that came from Germany out of World War II and didn't have much of anything either.
Probably had to start all over. Right.
So we understand each other.
Hmm.
The resources or the people around you that ahead of us in the sense of
Well, and I think take all of the comments that we talk about today with a grain of salt. If you do come from a family that has it more put together from that financial perspective, good, still listen, because you can learn what not to do in many respects, as well as take the leverage that you already have and are fortunate to have and put it to work today.
absolutely. Looking back, are there any financial mistakes or decisions that you made in the early career that you believe could have been avoided with the guidance of a mentor?
Absolutely. I growing up, I knew I needed to live out on my own during college and while I got to work. Just dynamics with my family, not a great situation. It's not just that they were low income. It's like there were some family dynamics there too that I needed to get away from. And I knew I would grow like a well-watered plant, I guess you'd say, once I was out on my own. And so I had to pay for school by myself, the apartment, the car, clothes, all of those sorts of things were straight out of my bank account. And I got caught up, as a young person does, right? Young people do this all the time. They see their friends have this shiny new thing, or they're wearing this brand of clothes, or, going to these concerts, things like that. And I got caught up in that, just like every young person does. And if I could go back and take the time machine and whisper in my ear, I would say, you don't really need to do that. And I think everything is in moderation, right? If you work hard, yes, you should treat yourself. Absolutely. You shouldn't just sit at home in the dark and not watch a movie or go out every now and then. All things in moderation. But there are certain things along the way I would go back and tell myself, you don't really need that. Trust me, you don't really need that.
It's that FOMO, that fear of missing out.
Oh, totally.
See somebody driving a new car.
Yeah.
To get one similar.
That's right.
Or it's the new fashion trends or whatever else is out there. It's like, I just have to. And then all the marketing and stuff that's out there, it's hard.
It's a lot of pressure. And even now, there's TikTok and Instagram and Facebook where all of these pictures and stories are being shared. So I think there's even more pressure today. But from a financial perspective, just ask yourself, do you know what those people make? Do you know if those people are overextended on their credit cards or with loans? There are so many avenues of how people get stuff. So please don't compare yourself to others and say, oh, they have that, I have to have it too, because your situation may be entirely different than theirs. You may really not be yet ready to get those things or do those things.
For all intents and purposes, you're doing fine financially today. Mm-hmm. What do you attribute to that?
I think once I finally did have positive voices in my life giving me good guidance in this financial space, that was the game changer. Financial matters are very, very personal. It's about as personal as talking about healthcare with your doctor. We're all willing to go to the doctor once or twice a year and have a very open conversation about what's going on inside our skin. But how many times per year do you sit down with someone who's an expert in money to say, here's what's going on inside of my bank account? And it's because it's very personal. And there's a lot of pride that goes into it because the money you've earned is a testament to the work that you've done and your work ethic too. So once I got over that hump of saying, all right, I'm not going to be private and ashamed or scared to have this financial conversation, I did pick out a couple of friends in my circle who I knew were doing well from a career perspective. It wasn't that they were rich or anything, but I saw stability and consistency. And I was willing to have a conversation with them to say, hey, I'm a bit embarrassed at this point. And I was then, I wouldn't be now. Can you help me figure out what I'm doing wrong? And that was huge. That was one of those big moments, one of those aha moments where I got candid feedback and they were willing to be that sounding board for me. And that helped steer me in the right direction to where I am now, where I am comfortable, but that's a result of working hard, making smart decisions, investing, and a lot of other things.
Can you share one specific lesson that you think would have been most impactful if you had received guidance on it earlier in your career?
So this one is something I feel like companies owe their employees to a greater degree than they may be comfortable doing today. And that's coaching their employees and educating them on why it's important to take advantage of company offered benefits like a 401k contribution or a pension plan or an employee stock purchase program. I participated in those things in my first couple of jobs only because I was enrolled in them automatically. I enrolled and never looked at it again. I know I have friends today who have done the same thing and they say, oh yeah, I contribute to 401k, but I never look at it. And I know now you have to look at it. If you ever pick up a newspaper or look at the headlines on a website that shares the news, you're always going to see something in the headlines that talks about the market. The market's going up, the market's going down, it's a bull market, it's a bear market, all these sorts of things. Those don't matter just to rich people in New York City.
No.
They matter to everyone down to the smallest of small towns. So it's important for you to not just contribute, but pay attention to it. And if you don't know how to pay attention to it, talk to someone who does. Go to your bank. Just ask your banker, hey, do y'all have anyone who can look at this with me? And if they don't, I guarantee they can refer you to someone that can. But that's one of the biggest things that I think folks need to do is take advantage of those opportunities from the company. It's basically free money. And I'd love to see more employers do a better job of explaining why this is important to take part in.
And I would say even go to your HR people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're there for.
Yes.
And ask them, can you help me with this? Can you steer me in this direction? If you don't want to advise me on this for whatever reason, can you help me find somebody?
Right. So Fidelity.com. Many, many major employers in the U.S. use Fidelity to administer their 401k program. Fidelity includes, at no cost to the employee, conversations with financial advisors. So they can look at your history and look at projections and make recommendations. And that's a resource. That's someone whose sole job is to make you money. Why wouldn't you want to talk to that person, right? You don't want to talk to someone who does that as their hobby. You want to talk to someone who majors in that. And it's free for most employees. So take advantage of it. I wish I'd known that, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, surround yourself with those experts, per se.
That's right.
That's their whole career. That's their passion. That's what they want to see you succeed.
That's right.
You mentioned the concept of a financial mentor. Mm-hmm. Can you elaborate on what qualities or expertise you believe would make an ideal financial mentor for someone in the early stages of their career?
I would look at people in your network, in your circle, who have demonstrated that they're doing okay. That doesn't mean go find Jeff Bezos, right? Or the richest person around. Just look for people who seem to have that stability. You never see them breaking a sweat. They have a home that they're comfortable in. They have a reliable car. Just someone in your circle that looks like they may have an idea of what to do. And they could be a good person to talk to. And make sure it's someone you're comfortable confiding personal information with, and that they won't judge you. You don't want to, if your first taste of financial advisement is with someone who's going to get judgy and preachy right out of the gate and say, oh, you're going to Starbucks 7 times a week. Well, there you go. That's why you don't have any money.
That's not a good relationship.
That's not.
You're going to shut down. You're not going to want to share these things.
Correct.
I guarantee you probably beat yourself up enough about the financial hole that you dug yourself in. I wouldn't want somebody to sit there and throw it back at my face. I get it. That's why I'm coming for help.
That's right. That's right. And our financial advisor as a family right now is someone we've been working with for at least 10 years, maybe longer. And I remember in those earliest meetings, I had pure anxiety because I just knew we would sit down with her and she was going to turn us inside and out and tell us all the things we were doing wrong. And she didn't. Instead, a good financial advisor and mentor is going to be someone who balances what are some things you could be doing and where are you trying to go long term with how do you need to live today? What are your current day expenses? And what are things you just want to do day to day? And they're going to help you find that balance of not sacrificing and living on ramen noodles in the dark today so that you can retire in a few years. They're going to help you find that balance where you're very comfortable and proud of what you're doing.
They want to sit kneecap to kneecap with you.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with financial advisors in my background and stuff, but they want to see you succeed. They want you to sit down with them and put it all out on the table so they can say, oh.
That's exactly right.
If you were to provide advice to young professionals entering the workforce today, based on your own experiences, what key financial lessons or principles would you emphasize considering the absence of a mentor in their early career?
I think the big one is no matter what, find some amount you can save. As I've said before, even $5 a week or $5 a month is better than nothing. And that can go in a cookie jar or that can go into a Fidelity account. It really doesn't matter. I would prefer a Fidelity account because that $5 will become $5.10 in a couple of weeks. So at least it's working for you while you're asleep or having fun on the weekends. I think that's the big one. And then certainly as you're looking at career options, younger people are more prone to change jobs more frequently than people that are more established in their career. Look at those benefits offered by the company that you're signing up with and really shop the whole benefits package more than just the salary. Sometimes, as a hypothetical, you may make a $50,000 salary with company A and they have lesser benefits. Company B may actually pay you $45,000 a year, but their benefits are astronomically better. So look at the entire benefits package of what they're offering in terms of healthcare, in terms of 401k savings, time off, all of these different things. Don't just look at that salary number. It's bigger than that. And that all folds into this broader financial picture. Healthcare is one of the most expensive things out there. Just our cost to a small business, they grow year over year over year, and it's tough. But we know we have to offer good healthcare insurance to our employees in order to attract and retain the best of.
Right. And I would say, just personally, me learning along the way with my financial journey and stuff, of see what they actually match as a company. That's. I had a friend of mine that sat me down like you had. It was like, Lindsay, what is this, and where is your money going? Do you even know? And
That's
I was
right.
like, no. I just know I got bills to pay. But
Yes.
it's so much more than that. He's like, you need to be able to contribute at least what the company is willing to match. That's free money.
That is free.
Free money. But I will say, in that situation for myself, I wasn't even able to do that because, again, I was trying to do that. But I strongly advise everybody and just try to get to that point to at least do that minimum match.
Totally.
The best that you can. Sacrifice that Starbucks twice a week.
Yes.
5 times a week. I had to do it.
Sure. Well, twice a week, that makes it more special than every day of the week, right?
It's also just benefits and stuff. I learned this, later on in my career. Some companies pay 100%. Some companies pay 75%.
Oh, and the healthcare piece. Yes.
There's a difference. There
is. Our co-founder at APG has talked many times about his first employer paid 100% of healthcare, and you just don't see that anymore. And that's why that's so important. Is, like I said, 45,000 a year versus 50,000 a year, or 90,000 a year versus 100,000 a year. Don't just look at that lower number and say, oh, they're not paying me what I'm worth. Look at that number in the whole benefits package, because you may actually be bringing home and socking away way more than the higher salary offer.
And look at Glassdoor.
Yes, compare yourself.
Was a big thing that I learned, probably about eight years ago and stuff, when I was trying to find a little bit more stability in that career and stuff. But it was being able to look at those benefits and what other employers and stuff, and Indeed, and comparing all of those.
That's right. I think the last point I would make, certainly for people who are earlier in their career, is when you look at those salary comparisons, and you should on Glassdoor and other marketplaces, there are a lot of assumptions baked into those numbers. So the more experience you can get and the more credentials you can get, the more valuable you are to any employer. So just graduating from college and showing up and saying, I have my degree in X discipline, pay me $150,000 a year. No, that you be realistic with what are you actually worth at this point in your career. Then when you have that job, that first company, second company, third company, look for as many opportunities to take on as many experiences as possible. Don't do just the bare minimum, because I promise you that next employer who wants to pay you more is looking for experience, not just showing up to work. Maybe you were in consulting. Did you do one project in consulting, or did you do a dozen in consulting? Guess who I'm going to hire? Right? A lot of that paints this whole broader picture that all comes back to your financial forecast of your potential for earnings.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, guys, for sitting through that with us. And we hope that we were able to share some insightful things and lessons that we've learned along the way.
Absolutely. I like talking money. I'm not afraid to talk about money, and any wisdom we can share, we want to do it. So thanks for listening today.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.